Hey folks, Dr. Gerstmar at Aspire Natural Health. I wanted to talk today about a direct cost lab tests. As many of you know, we run a lot of alternative or functional integrative tests like stool tests and nutritional tests and toxicity tests, all those kind of tests. But of course, we do make use of all the standard blood work that any MD or other doctor is going to use. Now, the good news, or rather, let's put it this way, the bad news about a lot of the integrative or alternative tests is either they're partly out of pocket or they're completely out of pocket. On the other side, the good news about the regular blood work is that it is usually covered by insurance. However, things have changed. So a couple of years ago, we'd order blood work for patients and we'd know, unless they had an exceptionally bad policy or no health insurance, that test would be covered by their health insurance, and we weren't concerned about any costs coming back to the patient. Well, in the past couple of years, a lot of things have changed, and the reality is a lot of people these days end up getting stuck with a bill for doing lab work. So a lot of people are asking, hey, how much is this going to cost me? And here's the reality, the sad reality, we just don't know. Now, to make sense of that, we have to explain just a couple of things here really quickly. The first is, as everyone knows, the complete lack of transparency of cost in the medical field. So what happens is this. As a doctor, we send out to a lab company like LabCorp, Quest, or any of these major companies to do your blood. You go to them, you give them your insurance card, they're going to draw your blood in, and do what we've asked them to do on the lab slip, and then they're going to send the bill to the insurance company, and then it's a big process where between the lab company and the bill, they work out how much is paid, who owes it, all of these things. As the doctor, just so everybody out there knows, we have no say in this matter whatsoever. The only thing we're doing is essentially ordering those lab tests from that company. Whatever is being charged, whatever you owe or don't owe, is going to be between the lab company and insurance, all right? So understandably, a lot of people come back to us and ask about the bill, and we're happy to help in any way that we can, but we have no bearing on what those costs are going to be when it's done this way. All right, and what happens, again, this lack of transparency, we end up in an arms race between, in this case, the lab company and the insurance company. So let's just say that the lab company would like to do a test and be paid $100 for that test. So they say this test is worth $100 and they bill that to the insurance company. Well, the insurance company is in business to drive that price down and keep the difference, right? So they come back to the lab company and they say, yeah, for that $100 test, we're going to pay you $60, say, for example. And the lab company kind of grumbles about it, and the next time they go to submit that lab test, they still want to get paid $100. They know if they submit for $100, they're going to get paid $60. So maybe the next time around, there's a renegotiation, or they bill again for that test, and now instead of billing $100, they bill $150, and maybe they get back, $90, right? And this whole arms race between the companies increasing their prices to try and get, if they're billing up here, they want to get this price down here, and the insurance company's trying to drive the reimbursement down as low as possible. So we end up in this arms race where we end up with these hugely inflated prices. Because, for example, the lab company may bill $3,000 to insurance, not because they want to be paid $3,000 or they expect that they're going to be paid $3,000, but because maybe they want to be paid $1,000 or $1,500. And that's fine when it's between the lab company and the insurance company, and that's it. But the issue now is with all of these changes that are happening to patients' health insurance, they get stuck in the middle of this whole mess. And so they end up getting billed that $3,000 or that $200 or whatever that inflated price is. They end up getting billed that. So you can end up getting bills that can be shocking and that, frankly, you don't deserve to have to pay. But the reality is many of us today are faced with plans with high deductibles. They may or may not have health savings accounts or FSAs attached to them. We have some employers who are willing to pay some or all of those savings accounts. We have some that pay part and some that pay none. So the reality is a lot of people these days are faced with high deductibles. You know, it's not uncommon for patients to come in with deductibles ranging from $3,000 to $7,000, $8,000 or more dollars. And so the reality is, you know, when that lab company, in this case, charges that overinflated price, which would normally be reduced by insurance, but insurance just goes, yeah, no, bill that directly to the patient over here because they have an open copay, you can end up paying a large sum of money for your lab tests. Or there are other associated fees where insurance may pay part of that, but then they may pass off other pieces to you and you may end up getting a bill. So to combat this situation, what we have done is get involved in direct pay. What simply happens is this: by directly contracting with the lab company and cutting out insurance companies completely, the lab companies agree to give us, you know, significantly discounted rates. For example, the rates on a lot of these tests can range, you know, from at least half of what would normally be charged all the way down to about a third of what would normally be charged. So we see this fairly often, that there may be about $1,000 fee for some extensive testing. And by doing it directly, we can reduce that to $300 to $400, which saves people quite a bit of money. What you can then do is take that with the invoices and what are called super bills, which lists all the codes, and you can submit that back to your insurance company and have that applied to your deductible. So for example, if you have, let's just call it a $5,000 deductible, you need to do some lab work. You know that if you go directly to the lab company, they're going to turn around and bill you what could be $500, $800, $1,500. It just kind of depends. Instead, if you go direct pay, you would pay us, you know, again, it depends, but say $200, $300, $500, $600 in comparison. And then with the super bills and invoices, you could have that applied back to your deductible. So since you're on the hook for the money in the first place, this does two things. First, it lets you know exactly how much you're paying out of pocket instead of having it be a big mystery. And two, it reduces your out-of-pocket expense while still applying it to your deductible. So again, this isn't for everyone. No one here at Aspire Natural Health is required to do this, but we saw a big issue with a lot of people complaining, A, I don't know how much I'm going to pay, and B, you know, I have a big deductible and I'm going to be on the hook for it. We think this is a solution that helps a lot of people. I will just say the other piece, so people often ask, well, how much are these labs if I go directly to the lab company? And the answer is, I don't know. We don't have like a slip of how much each lab costs because, again, historically, it was never a big deal. We'd order the tests and the wouldn't come back on the patients at all. It'd be between the lab and the insurance company. Now it is, and we don't have lists of how much the tests are going to cost. Again, the famous lack of transparency in medicine. So the one other option, if you don't want to do direct pay and you'd like to know how much these lab tests cost, is to call your insurance company. So every lab test has specific codes attached to it. We can certainly, we can get them to you, or you're able to look them up as well online. You can find those codes and you can talk to your insurance company about how much the test costs and what reimbursement is going to look like. So it is a bit of a hassle, but you can absolutely do that as well. All right, folks, I hope that clears it up. I know it's a bit of a pain. I know that we shouldn't have to deal with these things, but we do. The reality is a lot of the costs for testing are being pushed back onto patients. Insurance isn't covering these tests anymore. And because of the lack of transparency and the arms races that have gone on, the prices have become very inflated. And it is not at all easy to answer the question, well, exactly how much are these lab tests going to cost me? We don't have the lists. You can call your insurance company with the codes and work through what's been ordered and find out. That is your best option to know the price. Or you can use these direct pays where you're paying directly for the tests, getting the codes and submitting those so that it can be applied to deductibles. And it's a way to save quite a bit of money. All right, folks, if that's something you're interested, we'll be asking about that. If that's something you're interested in, please be sure to ask us and we can help facilitate that for you. At Aspire Natural Health, we are experts at treating gut problems, autoimmune diseases, and other hard to treat cases. If that's you or someone you love, please get in touch with us. We offer complimentary phone calls where we can answer 2 questions. The first is, can we be helpful for you? If we can, we'd love to move forward. If not, we won't waste anybody's time or anybody's effort. The second question is this an approach that you want to take? If it is, we'd be happy to help. All right, folks, until next time, take care.